In 2010, I was working for a transportation company. And while I was there, I was an infrastructure project manager, and we were delivering a number of devices. And as part of the actual project, we had to update the devices with new applications. And to do that, they had to do a cutover. So my program manager at the time was, well, I didn't know what that was, never heard of it. But ultimately what we did was we upgraded over 300 devices over a weekend. We had a downtime where all of the workers came in, and we did it over a weekend. We delivered it perfectly fine, tested it, set it off for go live, no problem at all. And that's when I realized what a cutover was. So accidentally, on completing that, I was contacted numerously over the last 10 years by multiple companies to do their cutovers, and that's how it started. In context of an ERP implementation, ERP being enterprise resource planning, the cutover is the critical part of that, where the business are moving or transitioning, is the words we use, from their current or old legacy systems over to the new systems. And what the cutover does, which is a critical path object, it actually signifies when the business can go live. And what that means is when they can start using their new applications. So for example, if you're manufacturing, you can start by doing all of your ramp up activities. Main challenges, the complexity of putting a thorough cutover plan together. If you can imagine, you've got a number of business work streams, technical staff, and a number of other people that are involved in putting together a step-by-step detailed plan. Making sure that everybody's on the same page and fully aligned. Other areas in terms of data, the main bit for data is maintaining the data integrity. So moving the data from a legacy over to your new system. Testing. So from a testing point of view, making sure it's fully tested and it's fit for purpose. But one of the key things as well, from a resourcing point of view, is the business is resisting the new system. I'm used to my way of working. You're introducing something new. I don't want to do your new process. I'm used to this way. So there's complexity in that particular area also. There's a number of other areas, but the key things that come under that sort of banner would be, I would say data is the most biggest in this category. Okay, so the key steps for any cutover is a thorough, comprehensive cutover plan. And what do I mean by that? That means that we are now looking at a step-by-step guide or instruction in terms of how we're going to do it. What does that mean? That means, well, who are the task owners? Who's going to be executing them and when, dates and times, any dependencies, any comments. So it's pulling all of those people together for a unified sort of plan. So who's involved? So you have your data migration, which is like the blood, let's call it that. And they've got to make sure that their plan is robust. They're going to extract the data, translate the data, load the data. We need the business to validate that data. So the business are validating everything to give confidence and also to check that everything's fit for purpose. Testing, there's various test cycles, but the biggest one that jumps out is UAT, or user acceptance testing. That's the first opportunity where the business can get to go in, have a look at the functionality, check if it's working, check the processes, etc., etc. Other areas that include that as well is reporting. There could be new ways of reporting to the business and how it's actually going to look in the real world. Other areas include dress rehearsal. So we have to demonstrate that the data can be loaded at a certain time, that the load profiles work. We want to check from a business point of view that all of their processes in terms of how they're going to validate it, how long it takes to do that. So basically we're orchestrating the cutover plan multiple times. So when we get to cutover, the cutover is the final event. We practiced it. Most companies do what they call 3 dress rehearsals or mocks in the SAP world. So we'll do it once, we'll do it twice, we'll do it 3 times, and then we're going in for the real one. By the time we go in for the real one, everybody knows what to do. Everybody knows how it's going to work, and then we deliver it on day one. So those are the key fundamentals, not forgetting communication and not forgetting training. To minimize risks. So as mentioned, a comprehensive cutover plan. The plan will mitigate a lot of the risk in terms of when it's being built. So if you're building the step-by-step plan, you can identify the risks a lot quicker. Most programs have a RAID where they will document each of those risks. Another one that we need to look at is data migration, as mentioned again. The data migration, the key objective for any data migration process is maintaining data integrity. So loss of data, corruption, if that is not done correctly, businesses will experience major problems in the new system. I've seen this, I've experienced this personally, where data is the biggest problem in any ERP implementation. So if you don't get that right, you don't spend the time required for that, you're going to pay for it later. Dress rehearsals we've talked about, we've been through that already, practicing it before we get to the main event. And also a contingency plan. What happens if it doesn't work? I want to roll straight back to how it was before we started. Because the whole objective for this is to make sure that we've minimized disruption to the business. We don't want to touch their day-to-day production. We don't want to stop them making money. So we want to make sure if we get to a certain point and it's not working, we want to give the system back to exactly where it was. And of course, one more thing, resources. You need dedicated resources to help a cutover plan. So identify who in the business is going to support the plan. Key leads, architects, key stakeholders, program management, risk management teams. Technical side will be all of your technical teams that are involved, BAU, they all need to be involved because the main thing here is to minimize disruption to the business. So from a cutover point of view, the landscape, how's it changed? So there's been new tools from automation and DevOps. I know in data migration areas, which, they're using new tools to make sure that the data is accurate when they do what they call the ETL process, the extraction, translation, and load. So there's new tools in that area that they're using to make sure that it works correctly. The new cloud environments and hybrid environments, that's changed the plans somewhat because some areas are quicker and there might be different ways now in which it will work in terms of a cutover. And also ultimately real-time monitoring and reporting. So in cutover, if you can imagine we're executing a plan. We're going through all the different topics, but at the end of each day or the end of each, so you want to track where you are. The business and the upper management want to see how we're doing. So if you've got a manufacturing site and all of the business are doing their tasks, you want to list out each of the manufacturing sites and what stages they've done, what tasks they've done, what's outstanding, any outages, etc., etc. The tools on the market now, you've got your usual Microsoft project that a lot of people use. You've also got your typical Excel, which is still good for purpose, but can be a bit cumbersome. At the moment, in some of the recent companies I've been at, I've been using Smartsheets. And I'm not promoted by them at all, but what Smartsheets does for you is not only are you listing the plans with your dates, your times, your owners, and your dependencies, what it does is dynamic. And what do I mean by dynamic? It automatically sends emails out to the recipients at the given time when they should execute their plans. When the recipient receives their email, they update the email and it automatically updates the plan, all automatic. So all the cutover manager has to do is monitor what we call the workflows to all of the given parties, and we can produce reports and a dashboard on the back of that. So that would be one of the main things that I would recommend. So options of a cutover manager in the job market. So a cutover manager developed, you could argue, from a project manager. It's a specialized project management job. In the old days, when a project manager used to deliver a project, the last bit was seen as just a cutover. But guess what? The cutover grew arms and it grew to its own position. So that means now a cutover manager can be obviously a cutover manager, cutover lead, can go and do project management, infrastructure project management, also get involved in Scrum Master. So there's different areas. Even if they can come out of that, they can do program management if they wanted to. The methodology is still relatively similar. obviously, unless you're going to agile. They can adapt to any sort of situation in terms, but ultimately they are delivery, they're release. So delivery managers, for example, could do that. So there's a lot of scope for a cutover manager out there. So do I want a project manager who's done cutover before? Question number one. Or do you want a seasoned cutover manager?